Good afternoon and welcome to Cinema Smackdown on CJLO 1690 AM. My name is Michael Brody. I am joined today by Shane Simmons, and in a surprise turn, our boss has joined us. Station manager.
What a twist!
Allison. She's made it very clear that if today's show does not go well, we are done.
Exactly.
This is it. This is our last chance.
This is our audit.
I like to be physically present in the studio, observing, so I could see it all. I could really take it all in.
She's heard all the stories of us setting fire to the studio by accident, so...
Well, you do love your Bobcat Goldthwait impression.
There are not nearly enough flammable chairs here.
That's very true. Well, if you're going to be here anyway, Allison, why don't we talk about movies that you like and hate and are completely confused by? Just off the cuff, maybe we can come up with some stuff that's, interesting enough to talk about on air.
That sounds good to me. While I'm here, observing, watching your every move, I might as well just chat.
And we'll try not to be too critical of your likes for fear of being fired.
I love that. This power trip that I'm on is, it feels good.
It feels good. I know. So I'm a little nervous. The tension's rising.
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do quite enjoy the merits of the Care Bears movie.
Directed by Toronto's own, I can't think of her name, but it's Selznick.
Oh, please tell me it's Ralph Bakshi.
No, I know that the director's family name is Selznick, because I know this because I know her son.
You're going to start me on Care Bears anecdotes now.
The company, whatever production company it was, offered her a bonus if she was willing to be credited as O. Selznick. That is not a joke. They literally said, well, what if, in your director's credit, we added an O.
Because we can pretend that David O. Selznick is still alive.
And that it has some merit to the 6-year-olds who are excited about seeing the Care Bears movie. This is like 1986.
Oh, from the legendary producer of the 1930s. Yeah, great.
Look, the film industry is filled with strange and interesting trivia, as we know.
Yes, it is.
As we spend approximately 59 and a half minutes talking about every week before promoting Shane's book. Which we do in a rush because we never remember.
Now in paperback.
Oh, is it ready?
Yeah, it is, actually.
Let's do your plug.
Oh, Epitaph, the sequel to Necropolis, now in paperback on Amazon outlets everywhere.
Ooh.
You can find Shane's Amazon author page only on Amazon.com
because Amazon sucks.
Because Amazon Canada.
Oh wait, I shouldn't say that because they're sort of my exclusive employer at the moment.
Wait, what are we here to talk about again?
Oh,
right.
Movies or something.
Something like film? Question mark?
Well, Allison, like I said, since you happen to be here today, surprise auditing us, why don't you tell us a little bit about your tastes? I'd like to hear about, if we have time for it, 3 movies you love, 3 movies you hate or have opinions on, and maybe 3 movies that you are like, I don't get it.
Okay.
Like some people, for instance, might not get the films of, say, David Lynch or Brian Grazer. He's very much a confusing power in Hollywood.
Or that Steven Spielberg guy. He's inaccessible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just too complicated for me.
I will say there are Spielberg movies that I am baffled and appalled by. So it's up there. I mean, he did make the what was it? The BFG.
That's true.
That
Did
movie
anyone
is-
see that?
I don't know. As a Doom player, I cannot look at that title and not think big effing gun. But
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's a Roald Dahl thing.
It's a Roald Dahl thing, and it is even as putting aside my cynicism and dislike of cuteness, it is real hard to get through. Real aimed at 2-year-olds as movies go. At any rate, Allison, let's talk about your interests, your likes, your dislikes.
Okay.
Why don't we start with something you like?
Something that I like. Well, when you asked me to come onto the show, I was thinking about the movies that I really, really love. And my tastes are quite basic. See, I'm not a film person.
Mm-hmm.
I am very much a music person, but I do love movies. I watch a lot of movies. But am I an auteur? Do I appreciate... I love rom-coms. That is my... Oh, I'm getting a thumbs up in the studio. So that's my main-ish. I am a huge fan of rom-coms. But there are a few movies that I really love that I'd like to discuss. Movies that really impacted me growing up. So therefore, I love it well into adulthood. And, yeah. And the first movie that I would like to talk about that I truly love is Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous.
I am very pleased to hear with this. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan, and
I have never heard you talk about this film in my life.
I will do my usual rant about the director's cut. But you go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Amazing.
Are you familiar with the two versions of the movie?
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Then I don't need to.
Yes, with the extended scene where they listen to "Stairway to Heaven" in the living room.
That is, for the listeners, the movie that came out in cinemas was 2 hours. The director's cut of the movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes, and even the director's cut omits a 10-minute scene where the entire cast sits quietly and listens to the entirety of Stairway to Heaven, and they included it as a DVD extra that you can watch as a scene. However, they did not include the song Stairway to Heaven because it would have cost them about $80,000
Yes,
to include
indeed.
it. So they offer you, the audience, an opportunity to sync up your own copy. And if you do, it's a magical scene. And I will argue that the movie is 10 times better if you insert that sequence.
Yeah, honestly, I would agree with you there.
It is a really meaningful moment for the Frances McDormand's character's arc.
Yes, 100%.
Well, please, take it away.
What can I possibly say about this movie? I think that this movie is heartwarming, it is entertaining, and it is an incredible example of a coming-to-age film. And if you are a fan of music, it is the movie for you. You know, I saw this when I was very young, and it's inspirational, honestly. It is truly inspirational because, you know, I fell into the world. I wanted to be a music journalist. I wanted to be, yeah.
Well, as rom-coms and fake biopics and what have you go, and it is a lot closer to being an entirely true story than you would ever think.
Exactly,
if you
yeah.
listen to the commentary, you learn that. The amazing thing about Almost Famous, especially the long cut of the movie, is it's an epic film. It covers so much material in so many ways, in so many parts of the world, in so much. It's the Lawrence of Arabia of teenage musical journeys.
It truly is.
Yeah,
It truly
It's
is.
And the more-
Roadie of Arabia.
The more I've seen it, the more I like it. It actually is a film that's grown on me more and more and more and more, to the point where I'm kind of astonished at how well it came out when you watch all the movies Cameron Crowe has made since.
Yes,
It's like-
absolutely.
It's like he had this epiphany moment and nothing left after that.
But do you think, I think maybe the reason why this movie was, like, so, because it's basically his life.
Mhm.
You know, you can't really screw up telling your own life, especially, I don't know.
Well,
It's very indulgent.
his mother appears on the commentary track for the film. If you listen to it, the entire commentary is his mother saying, "Oh, I remember when that happened. Oh, I remember when that happened. Oh, I remember when that happened," over and over and over. Not just the scenes her character is in, but to every part of the musical journey. It's just anecdotes he'd related.
Mhm.
They're all stuck together based on many, many, many bands that he'd hung out with. But apparently, it is beyond the fictionalized autobiography into pretty much a memoir.
Yeah,
Kind of
absolutely.
amazing that way.
But,
All right.
yeah, the soundtrack is incredible also. It's just,
Yeah, and
yeah.
even the fake band is pretty great.
Stillwater? Heck yeah.
They're pretty great, and you can hear their songs, and they have a certain authenticity, especially within a film where I'd say the filters of how they sound in the movie are pretty authentic. Whereas if
Mhm.
you hear the CD quality songs, they seem a little new.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's lacking a filter to sort of make
Well, they
this seem more
Definitely did a good job of, like, making it seem authentic live performances.
Exactly.
Which is impressive, honestly. Because, you know, you see that in musicals, you know, it is very slick. You can't really believe that the band that's performing is actually live. But Almost Famous did it good, I find. Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't you flip side it for us and give us a different perspective on a different film.
A different perspective on a different film. Like a
Well-
film that I
That you
don't
haven't-
love?
Exactly.
Or you could try one of the ones that make you go, huh?
Okay. A film that makes me go, huh. This may be a hot take, but it's a movie that came out, I think, about 2 years ago now. The Florida Project.
Yes, I was in this studio having a chat with two people who thought it was the most delightful film ever, and I wanted to leap over the table and swat them both with pillows, is actually how
I will
put it.
point out that I wasn't one of them, so.
But I had the same reaction of watching a movie with what were clearly non-actors, non-acting, being obnoxious for 2 entire hours and
Yes.
thinking I am angry the entire time.
I think we are definitely in a similar position. I do feel guilty about having that reaction though, because I understand the point of the film. It's, you want to see the kid's perspective living through poverty. But I just found the kids so damn annoying.
Yeah. Any movie that opens with children spitting on someone's property and then having their mother angrily defend them against a person who was completely within their rights to be mad about this, it just immediately put me on the defensive and never let me go back to having the slightest bit of sympathy for them.
It's true, and I know
And
they're kids. I know that you shouldn't be angry at them. And plus, as the movie goes on, you see how they're raised, the environment they're in. It all makes sense as to why they behave this way. But it just wasn't for me. I more so wanted to hear more from the mother's perspective. I wish she was highlighted more. I found her story so much more interesting. But I guess that wasn't the point of the movie. The point of the movie was to focus on the kids and the environment that they're raised in.
I mean, just to play devil's advocate, it is obviously a very, very well-made version of exactly what it is. This cinema verite non-actor, other than Willem Dafoe, who is strangely out of place if you really feel like these people are clearly not actors, and then he pops in and he's like, theater! But I couldn't say the movie's terrible, but I certainly have the same reaction of, I don't get it.
Yeah, I just did not enjoy it. I struggled through it. It just was not a movie for me. And it was so critically praised. I had so many friends who listed it as their favorite movie of the year. And
I just don't get how people get enjoyment out of it. I can appreciate that
Yeah.
it exists, but it's like, that was no fun for me.
Yeah, it definitely was not a feel-good film. Which, yeah.
Alright, well, more on feel-bad movies when we return after these messages.
Cool.
That's great. Thanks.
Good.
I'm enjoying it. Also, we had a perfect 3-minute rant about something after a fairly long, almost famous chat.
Yes. That was good. Very good.
Technician is free.
But yes, I would say that's my favorite movie of all time. But I think it's just because I saw it at a very critical point in my life.
I think I've even said this on the show before, but I saw Almost Famous in the cinema and saw the 2-hour cut, and I was like, that was fine. That was my review. That was fine. Didn't really move me, didn't care. Then the director's cut came out, and I was like, oh, I'm such a completist, I'll just watch it anyway. And I started to notice that every scene was expanded just a bit. And every little moment that was added back were character moments until suddenly the movie was breathing and living, and all these people meant something to me that they hadn't in the previous version. It was like, so I did a screening of that film. I'll tell you later. And we are back on CJLO 1690's Cinema Smackdown on AM radio. AM, where the cool kids hang out. It's the show. I like it. I'm proud when I tell people, but I'm like, I'm on radio. And they're like, really?
It beats the days when we used to do the show by walkie-talkie.
I tend to give them a short description of the show, and then there's a pause, and occasionally people go, is that on AM? Like, question mark, like, does that exist? Is AM fully automated by 8-track
Yes,
players?
we're on after the latest chapter of The Shadow.
What is Orson Welles up to these days?
Oh, slimming.
That's a good answer. He's splitting his time between The Shadow and episodes of The Harry Lime Show. That man, is there nothing he can't do other than get a budget for a film?
Or Rise from the Dead.
I don't know, I've seen him walking around NDG.
Oh, right.
That
Yes,
man is here.
we kind of personally know his doppelganger.
That's correct. That's correct. And we have a friend who has doubled for Orson Welles, no
Oh.
joke, in numerous movies.
Oh, wow.
In numerous movies. I mean, I can think of 2 immediately, but there may be 17 more.
Wow.
People love casting him as that, or did love casting him as that character in the 90s. He had several appearances. He appears in the Peter Jackson movie Heavenly Creatures
Really?
as Orson Welles.
Wow.
And then, Montreal's own.
And gets to snuggle with a pre-famous Kate Winslet.
Oh.
That's true. Among his personal life credits is first person ever to make out with Kate Winslet on screen.
That's
And,
amazing.
that's Montreal's own Reverend Gonzalo.
It is.
That's his old alias, isn't it?
It's something like that, yeah, and it's probably more accurate than his actual name.
There you go.
Thank you for this trivia. That's amazing. Orson Welles just walking amongst us.
Oh, and he's like 3 blocks from here.
Wow!
He's lived in the same apartment for 30 years.
Whoa.
Maybe more.
We'd have him on, but he would out-curmudgeon me.
Yeah. It would create a vortex that would suck us all into a parallel dimension. I'm pretty sure. We may one day bend the rules of space and time and have him on. I don't know. I'd like to. I just don't know if we could control him. That's the issue here. I don't know what he's at. I don't know where he's at these days. I touch base with him about once a decade, and it's a sinking ship of personality. Like, he's very intense. At any rate, let's get back to talking about Allison and Allison's stuff.
Hello.
All right, let's do another like, Allison.
Another like. Another movie.
Or if you want to, actually, I'm going to let you choose. We've done one like, one. The second one was the I don't get it, which I totally got but not getting. And,
which I appreciate.
Well, I mean, you told me earlier that you have some. You don't hate movies, but you have a thought.
Would you like me to have this thought on air right now?
Let's do that.
Okay, so yeah, you asked me to compare some movies that I dislike, and honestly, there's not a lot of movies that I hate. Movies that I hate are probably universally hated, honestly. But one franchise that does not speak to me is most Disney films.
Okay.
And when I say Disney films, I mean like Disney cartoons, the Snow Whites, the Sleeping Beauties.
So you're okay with the computer who wore tennis shoes?
The computer who wore tennis shoes.
Oh, it's a little before your time. Early.
No, enlighten me.
The 1972 Kurt Russell.
Yeah, early Kurt Russell.
Yeah. Kurt Russell, by the way,
part of a trilogy, in fact.
Was a teen idol character, and he starred in a dozen or so Disney movies as the title character. Like, the computer who wore tennis shoes was Kurt Russell in the movie. I think he's like a guy, I don't remember the movie, but I think he's like a guy who gets hit on the head and can suddenly remember everything. And that helps.
Yeah, some weird sciencey thing happens to him in each film, and he develops a talent.
Yeah, there's the strongest man in the world, where when he eats cereal, he becomes the strongest Popeye.
There's a third one as well. No, that's not him.
But he's in several of those.
It's a trilogy about that character.
By the way, this is my favorite trilogy. This is my favorite trivia almost ever. It's up there. Apparently, on his deathbed, Walt Disney's final words were, "We have to find a good movie for Kurt Russell to star in."
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's real.
Yes. Apparently, Walt Disney's final thoughts
what
something
was
to do with Kurt Russell becoming
Walt
more
Disney's
famous.
final thought was, "We totally have to make Bone Tomahawk."
Oh, if only.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I did not know about any of these Kurt Russell movies, and now
They are worth seeing, but I mean, we're derailing the conversation away from. I want to hear what it is you hate about Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin.
Hate is a strong
and
word.
I am not a fan of most of these films, so I'm delighted
really?
to be with this.
It's really hard to articulate why these movies just don't speak to me. I think what it was taking it back to childhood again. I was never a kid who watched Disney movies. I didn't own Disney movies. My parents never made me watch Disney movies. So when I got older and I'm watching these movies, they just didn't speak to me. I hate musical interludes mostly. I don't know, the cheesy animation. The storylines just did not speak to me at all. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
You don't like stories about absent or dead parents and a villain who is defeated at the end by falling from a great height.
Yes, that's every single film.
That is a standard Disney plot.
Yeah, see, not for me.
I will tell you that I saw Aladdin, which I believe is 1992, and I was so disinterested in that movie while watching it. I'm on my mission because I just fell out of Disney films for about 15 years completely. And there are still holes in my personal filmography in the Disney canon I haven't gotten to, and that is surprising because I've seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
I will boast, and it's not a great boast, but I will arguably boast that I have seen the majority of mainstream movies made since 1970.
Yeah.
And I have a fair education of stuff that comes before it, but I have a few gaping holes in the Disney animation. I have not seen Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
And I have not seen The Lion King. This
Whoa.
day.
And neither have I.
But you have far more gaping holes.
Not in 20th century stuff, though.
Okay. I will make a point of saying that the one that surprised me and sort of brought me back was I stumbled upon much later The Emperor's New Groove with David Spade
Now,
and John Goodman.
This is an amazing film.
See?
See,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
You know why?
It's
Because
the good one.
there is a humor to it, unlike the other Disney movies. There's something fresh about it. It's definitely the voice casting. They did an incredible job with that.
Well, not only that, but it's hard to argue this properly. It's almost like you need a dissertation to get it across properly. But in terms of the animated journey the characters go on, the stakes in that film are relatively low.
Yeah.
It isn't. I mean, I argue this about superhero movies all the time. It's like, why can't there just be a superhero movie where the guy needs to defeat one person doing one little thing? I don't need every Batman movie to be Batman saves the world. I don't need Superman to literally save the world in every film. It's too much. It's the same in a lot of the Disney films. It's usually a catastrophic problem that needs to be solved. Whereas The Emperor's New Groove is kind of like two buddies on a journey to get somewhere. And that's about it. It's just, they just gotta get somewhere, and they have a lot of issues with each other. There's a lot of really good back and forth arguing in that one. And there is arguably an action scene in the middle of the movie, which is just them at the bottom of a chasm trying to get out of the chasm. And I was halfway through that scene and I realized, this is the big action scene in this movie. This is almost the most sort of spectacle, violence, anything you're going to see in it. And it's just two guys trying to climb out of something. And it is really wonderful to realize that this is a low-key film compared to a lot of things.
Because the focus is more on the characters and the comedy, and it's truly entertaining, and the color scheme of the movie is like so visually appealing, and that movie rules.
Oh, great. Well, so you're kind of destroying your own argument, though. I need to hear more about the Disney films you don't like.
Most of them.
Well, have you seen the majority?
I would say so.
Okay. Are you a fan of The Lion King or of Beauty and the Beast, or are these the ones that they left you cold?
They're movies I saw, and I will probably never see again because they just don't interest me at all.
Okay.
No interest.
Right.
Yeah.
So certainly not the new live-action, slick, ridiculously CGI versions.
I will never see probably that new Lion King, which is not something that I need in my life.
Yeah, it's the classic Disney films are kind of an existential blind spot for me, to the point where even fan as I am of early 20th century cinema, the early stuff doesn't really appeal to me. I saw most of it when I was a kid, and to this day I despise Fantasia as a film. In fact, I got my only D- writing a term paper at Concordia University in an animation class explaining why Fantasia is a piece of crap.
Wow.
Shout out to Concordia!
Yeah.
How dare you have a different opinion?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Teacher did not appreciate that.
Yeah, apparently.
That's insane.
I was not a fan of the Fantasia movie either. I almost carried that aggravation over to Montreal's own Fantasia Film Festival.
Yeah, I know. How dare they have a nearly identical name?
Yeah, it's pretty funny
goodness.
that way. But I will say the odds are, I think I know this from reading it, but it's so vague in my mind. I believe the reason that The Emperor's New Groove is a better film than the 2 decades of movies that came before is because it's when Pixar was moving into the company, and it's a lot of crossover production and people talking in the same sort of mindset as the Pixar films are significantly better storytelling.
100%.
I mean, there was a period there where Pixar could do no wrong for me right up until Finding Nemo, which I did not connect with at all.
Interesting. What was it about Finding Nemo that you didn't like?
I just didn't care about their journey or problems. I did find it fascinating that the opening scene of that is a mass murder of
It is
characters.
quite something. It is quite tragic.
I guess while I do enjoy Albert Brooks as a comedian, I did not enjoy Albert Brooks the clownfish. And going forward from there, the Ellen character being just nothing but irritating, and of course, doing a sequel to that was focusing more on her character was just intolerable for me.
This I will agree with. Dory is definitely the character I like the least in that film, but I do believe that the story is heartwarming, and I don't know. I enjoyed Finding Nemo. I have not seen Finding Dory for the same reason.
Well,
Dory is not a...
I have, and I can't say it's a bad movie. It's very, very, very well made, but it is not something I was interested. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But right up through, I want to say Monsters Inc., I couldn't believe the level of quality, and that's the one that really I think I like the best even to this day.
Monsters Inc. is incredible.
I think Monsters Inc. is maybe their best film, and I think Monsters University is maybe their worst film. So
I liked Monsters University.
Did you know there is now going to be it's coming out soon, a Netflix Monsters Inc. television show featuring the real cast returning to play their characters in an ongoing show that takes place post Monsters Inc.
Whoa.
Yeah, I read about it recently. I forget the title because it's not Inc. It's like Monsters something something, and
Interesting.
At first it looked like just a knockoff, but then I saw that it was literally going to be voiced by Billy Crystal and John Goodman. I was like, well, if they're willing to do it, I have a feeling the writing is going to be pretty high.
Absolutely.
Because why would they bother? These two men do not need paychecks.
It's true.
Let's hope it's just for the love of it and that they are really happy with the quality of the writing. That's the idea for me. And hopefully as well the quality of the animation.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting.
But
I'm going to
we'll
look into that.
Yeah, it's coming sometime soon. I mean, enough that it's been properly announced. But
Okay.
we'll see where that's going.
Well, much as we all don't really care for mainstream Disney films, thanks to all the buyouts, now we can look forward to every film ever being released ever again being a Disney film.
It's getting there. It is amazing. It's like they're the Walmart. They're just buying up every small town stores and taking over. It's essentially the same thing. I mean, Fox is
I cannot
Disney.
wait for Disney to buy out Bollywood.
I see where you're going there. But Fox is Disney. Fox is Marvel. Disney is Star Wars. Disney is Marvel. Disney is Fox. Disney is what else?
Pixar, the Muppets.
That's right.
Yeah, the list goes on.
Yeah.
They have Aliens now. As part of the
Well, but anything Fox. Right?
Yeah, exactly. As part of the merger, yeah.
The amount of things that Fox has.
The only thing they don't have is Spider-Man, and Sony's going, yeah, you can have it.
Got a death grip on Spider-Man. At any rate, I could do 20 minutes on Spider-Man, but let's not. It's been well documented on the internet. All right, well that was an all right. Don't like. I gotta say.
Disney's just not for me.
Let's remind our listeners that they're listening to Cinema Smackdown on CJLO 1690 AM. I am Michael Brody. I'm joined by Shane Simmons, and we're being audited today by our boss, Allison, who is here being very, very, very carefully seeing what we are doing moment by moment, and is soon to have us both removed from the building by security. Fairly sure this doesn't go her way.
We're on the cusp, but we're hanging on.
All right. Well, I did like Almost Famous as much or more than you, so
And
that's never a bad thing. Is it? Comments?
No, it's the same. Please don't do cocaine off the control panel.
Oh. Sorry, is that a bad thing?
Not this week. Not this week.
Alright, I'll keep it for the bathroom. I'll class it up just this once.
Have you seen that bathroom?
Yeah. That is not a bathroom I would do cocaine off of. I don't want to waste my good cocaine in that bathroom. So, well, let's do another loved film.
Another loved film.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to take it to the 80s.
As many people do when it comes to loved films.
One of my favorite films that I watch to this day at least once a year. Pretty in Pink.
You've cracked the John Hughes case.
I did.
Boy, is he taking a lot of crap these days for not being politically correct enough.
And I was
How dare he not be making movies for today 30 years ago? What was wrong with that man?
It's going on 40 now, but yeah.
It's I gotta say though, it is hard to watch those films in today's lens.
Yep.
16 Candles, which I loved even in high school because I wasn't thinking in high school.
Right.
And watching it today.
It's a racial nightmare.
The Gong.
It is Jerry Lewis level offensive.
It's
No.
insanity.
It is Mickey Rooney level.
Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You know, people don't talk about this one much, but there's a Marlon Brando playing a Japanese man movie. Do you know this?
Yeah, what is that? The Tea House of the August Moon?
The August Moon.
Yeah.
And I recall seeing that as a child and kind of liking the movie, but really getting that, why is that a white dude? why is that, what's Colonel Kurtz doing here? Probably not my thought as a 10-year-old, but at any rate, yeah, there's a lot of those strange.
It's rough.
I mean, now admittedly, in not Pretty in Pink, in 16 Candles, he is played by a legitimate Asian, but
That's true.
wow, I bet that guy's not happy with himself.
He was not, definitely not portrayed in the nicest light. But
No.
also, just like the weird sexual themes in that movie, too.
Well, I'm all for pushing odd boundaries compared to standard cliche romance problems. And yeah, the John Hughes movies do touch on some of those.
Mhm.
I mean, and he has two highly sexualized movies. He's got 16 Candles has some weird stuff in it, but Weird Science, which Hughes wrote and directed, is...
I will refute that, sir, and say the most sexually charged moment of his film is the waking up in bed together and from planes, trains, and automobiles. Those aren't pillows.
That comes from a very strange place. I really must wonder. But I do like that moment. To this day, I still find that kind of interestingly...
And
acted
arousing.
Well, anything to do with Steve Martin's butt is definitely special. Let's be clear here. John Candy had ham-sized hands. something very, very strange was going on in that moment.
You don't want him being your impromptu proctologist.
No, I have heard that story before. The "Dear God, let it be someone with small fingers, oh no" story. I've heard that one a few times.
I believe I've told you that one myself.
You're one of several people
Uh-huh.
who mentioned that one to me. But you know, fingers crossed for the female Asian proctologist.
Well, that's John Hughes level racist.
Exactly. I knew I was walking into that one.
Oh my goodness.
But so the one that you still like is Pretty in Pink.
Yes, and even when that is definitely one of his best films. It just I don't know. It makes me feel so many things. It's
All right.
and the issues it touches on issues of class and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
It
like
just makes me feel so good.
I like everything in that. The strangest thing about a modern look back at that movie is that most people have decided, looking back on the film, that Ducky is gay. And according to everybody who worked on the movie, that was not the intention. So it's very interesting in today's extremely open culture, extremely, wow, the word forgiving is not right, but we have a much more easygoing take on people and all of their myriad choices, and Ducky really does seem to fit into one of those not straight categories, and yet his desires, as he puts them in the film, is all, I want to be a straight man with this straight woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very focused, and in fact is the end of his arc is very much that.
Yes.
But he does have some interesting personality traits.
He does, and it's one thing that I like about the Ducky character is that he is not a traditional male character. You know, he is flamboyant and he is stylish, and he does have traits that aren't like typically masculine. I love that in a character.
Well,
And honestly, I take such issue with people projecting like sexuality on someone without. Well, you can't ask a fictional character, but I don't know. His intentions were clear, and that has to be respected.
I'm guessing that they just recognize traits they see in people they know and say, well, he seems to be doing this, this, and this, and that's clearly not a straight attitude or a straight behavior.
Putting people in a box is never a good idea.
I mean, we are definitely in that place now where the boxes are totally changing shape
Of course,
and
yeah.
colliding with each other.
Of course, yeah. So you can see that back in the day, someone saying that because he is not a traditional masculine male, but
Well, I like any movie where the male ideal is Andrew McCarthy. You're like, really? This is the guy, huh?
hey, I'm into Blade. I get it. I don't know.
I'm actually kind of amazed at how much I like, and I mean like as in despise, but lovingly despise James Spader in that.
He plays an incredible villain in that film.
Yeah.
Oh my
He
god,
was-
he
he
does
was-
it so good.
He was seeding his future Ultron performance. Even then. As listeners of this show may know, I am the world's biggest fan of James Spader in Avengers Age of Ultron. I think that may be the finest single acting part in history. It's sad how close to me being serious that is. But at any rate, yeah, he's delightfully rough and difficult and just monstrously villainous in that film. And
Yes.
he gets a harsh comeuppance in one scene.
Yeah,
And it's a really satisfying and scary moment.
absolutely.
I found that scene in that movie to be... There is that little moment in the hallway, and it feels raw. And in a movie that's so
Yes.
cute, it's amazing. Actually, that movie has a lot of rawness.
It really
That's
does.
the Harry Dean Stanton film, too. isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
this is-
scene in
you're
the
right,
bedroom.
It's one of the very best and the most layered.
I have never watched that movie without crying at that scene in Eddie's bedroom when, his character comes in and talks
I'm
about his moment.
Almost sure that that's the first Harry Dean Stanton movie I saw, or that I was aware of.
Yeah.
Because he's really playing a rough character.
Yep.
You know, he's like a child in many ways. He's still got. I've often thought of most of the rest of his performances as a bit of a parody of him, whereas that's the one really great raw performance he gave. I think. Any thoughts, Shane?
I'm trying to remember if I've even seen this.
Oh.
Ooh.
It was one of those, I just conflate it so much with 16 Candles. They're like the same film for me
They're
in my
not,
head.
though. They're
I know they're not, but
they're tonally very different. Whereas 16 Candles will drop completely into parody at points.
Yeah. A lot more campy.
Pretty in Pink is a drama with comedy in it. At its heart, it's a drama. There are hard emotions in that film. There are no really raw, hard emotions in 16 Candles. They almost don't feel like the same universe, because even though it's Molly Ringwald in both of them, there's a certain safety in the first film, whereas in Pretty in Pink, everybody feels like they're in danger in that movie, just even emotionally. Yeah, I guess I have a lot to say about that one. I'm also a very, very big fan of a messier movie, not directed by... Actually, he didn't direct that one. 16 Candles is directed by Hughes, whereas Pretty in Pink and Some Kind of Wonderful, I think, are both directed by Leah Thompson's husband, whose name escapes me. At any rate, Howard Deutsch. They have a child named Zoe Deutsch, who's kind of a famous actress now. But Some Kind of Wonderful features a performance by Elias Koteas, who is from Montreal.
Oh, interesting.
And he is the skinhead character who runs around that movie just being the most delightful kind of cameo. Do you recall it all?
No, that's a movie I have not seen.
Oh my goodness, you've seen... It's like a trilogy of films, or a quadrilogy of films, and because I think Breakfast Club fits reasonably well in there.
Sure.
So that'd be 4, I think. The main core Hughes movies. And well, I hope that you get just sufficiently liquored up enough to watch this film and not judge it too harshly by today's standards. But
It's okay.
But Some Kind of Wonderful has some pretty great ideas in it. And I won't spoil it for you now, because you have to see the film first, but there's something that happens in Some Kind of Wonderful that directly altered what Hughes decided to do to the characters at the end of Pretty in Pink.
Interesting.
He made a big change in the movie because he'd written one film, and then when he went to write the other one, he had to balance them.
Okay.
So it's worth knowing for that. But that's trivia for another day.
Duly noted. I will watch this film. Thank you.
Yeah. And you'll get to see, like I say, Montreal's own Elias Koteas. He's had an interesting career. He's very De Niro-like. You'll see that in this film immediately. Wow, that guy's doing a De Niro performance like nobody's business. Yeah,
probably does a better De Niro than De Niro does these days.
Well, these days. At any rate, so that's what have we talked about so far? We've talked about Almost Famous, The
Yes.
Florida Project,
Yes.
Disney movies, and now we have done Pretty in Pink.
That is correct.
All right, well, let's do another I Don't Get It movie.
Another I don't get it?
Yep.
Okay. Alright. Right before the first ad break, we'll quickly touch on this because there's another movie that I want to talk about a lot.
Okay.
And we'll do that after the ad break.
Perfect.
But real quick, I don't get Phantom Thread.
Does anyone?
Why, what's not to get about a movie about a man obsessed with sewing things? I'm...
And it's not a horror movie.
I argue that is absolutely a horror movie.
Is he making a dress out of actual girls?
I mean, that might be the subtext. All right, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on Phantom Thread.
In 2019, I am just so tired of seeing tortured genius films.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tortured genius that I could not care the least about. Like, I care so little about that character. When I was watching it, I was like, okay,
Yep.
you know?
Well, there's movies that people make and people see where they say to themselves, now this is method acting. This person is this person. Like, my example of what you're saying is, what is the name of it? It's not Renaissance, it's the DiCaprio bear-hugging movie.
The Revenant.
Right,
Yeah.
Now, I watched Revenant, and all I said was, well, that is clearly 2 solid hours of Leonardo DiCaprio freezing and rolling in the mud, and beyond that, I feel nothing for this. All I'm seeing is an actor making himself miserable, or having the director make him miserable. And yes, I appreciate that they went to a location, and it was really, really, really unpleasant. I can see on screen how unpleasant this was. And that is where my appreciation for the movie ends, and where I just say, and now tell me a story of any kind. No, I just want to stand here shivering for another hour and 40 minutes. And it's just so... And so very much, Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread is a man suffering.
Yep.
And I didn't read up on Phantom Thread the way I have on other films he's made, but Daniel Day-Lewis has gone ahead and spent 6 months of his life on nearly every movie, going to do whatever job that character does. He made furniture for a film. He made shoes for a movie. He lived in the woods for 4 months prior to shooting.
He drilled oil and beat people to death with bowling pins.
Sadly, that was every picture. But yeah, I mean, his level of commitment to just getting in a mindset is... I will quote Laurence Olivier right now and just turn to Day-Lewis and say, have you tried acting? It's just a little thing I like to do to pretend I'm in a moment. That is the magic of Laurence Olivier talking to Dustin Hoffman on the set of Marathon Man. But we've told that anecdote many, many times.
It's a good anecdote.
Yeah, at any rate, what is it? I guess with me losing my train of thought, we'll go to a quick ad break and we'll be back with more of Allison's thoughts on good, bad, and what? Movies. What I was saying before was with Almost Famous, so I did after I saw the long cut of it, I bought the DVD.
Yeah.
And I invited all my friends over. Some had seen it already, some had not. And actually the majority had not seen it.
Yeah.
So I sat them all down, and everyone liked the movie a lot. At the end of the film, I said, okay, so this is the director's cut with a complex scenes in it. Tell me what your favorite scene in the movie is. The most important, you cannot cut this moment of the movie, doesn't make sense scene. And they mentioned a deleted scene. And then I said, now tell me your second most important scene. And they mentioned another deleted scene, and another, and another, and another, and a hit you later. Every single thing, it happens all the time.
What? The buzzer?
Oh. That was me. No, that was my end. They actually freeze a lot though.
Yeah, yeah. It's just because it's coming from a different network.
No, I do the buzzer to just make sure I don't do the third ad, and then I screwed up and started back from the beginning.
That's all good.
We're playing.
But they chose deleted scenes?
They all chose the extra footage where someone said something uniquely character-based. And although we were deep into a conversation off mic, we are now back, returning to the initial conversation. We'll just try to get our heads back around it. Welcome back to Cinema Smackdown with that convoluted comment to start us off. Again, I'm Michael Brody. I'm joined by Shane Simmons and Allison. Allison, I haven't mentioned your family name. I guess we're going to keep you anonymous, just in case.
I guess so. You know, people are after me, so let's keep it safe.
How's that witness protection program working out?
Oh, it's doing great. Doing very cozy in my new home.
I hear they have the best gift baskets.
Yes, you heard correctly.
How is it, Mr. Epstein?
Yikes!
Oh no, exposed!
Yikes!
All right.
Ooh.
So, Allison, you told us before the break that you had something you definitely wanted to get into as a longer than 3-minute thought.
Yes!
Let's hear it.
I just cannot stand for the life of me. A Star is Born.
Oh my God, we have so much in common. Go ahead.
Now we'll specify that it's a new one, right?
All of them.
All of them.
All
Oh,
of them.
okay.
Even
okay.
going back to the not music-based... Which one is the not music-based one?
Oh yeah, that is going back
The
quite.
pre-Judy Garland version.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one in the 30s.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
that's
I think
the only
they're
one I haven't
actors.
seen.
They're actors in that one.
Yeah, it's the only one I haven't seen. But yes, the Judy Garland one, the Barbara Streisand one, the Lady Gaga one, all trash. The story is bad. The story is bad.
It is rough watching a woman apologize for a man for almost 3 hours.
It really, truly is. And so, admittedly, I will say that I watched the new one first before I revisited the older ones.
Interesting.
A Star is Born is just a franchise. Just a film that I wasn't super familiar with. I knew it existed, never bothered to watch it. But I did watch the Lady Gaga one. And in the theaters, I was flabbergasted by how bad the story was. I will say though, Lady Gaga is actually a very decent actress. Bradley Cooper did a terrible performance, I found.
It is very, very odd.
It
His choice, and I can get into that in a moment, but I don't want to interrupt your line of thought on what was wrong with the movie.
Well, I found that Bradley Cooper's character unbelievable. Like, I do not believe that he would have been a superstar at that caliber. So that was also just something with a little plot hole in my mind. But yeah, no, it's and just the manipulation in the story, and then just the ending is just so melodramatic and bad.
Yeah, despite being melodramatic, I found it rather flat.
Yes, absolutely.
Rather flat.
Yes.
Well, the thing that's amazing to me about this movie, and that the movie itself addresses in the strangest way, is it's important to remember that the prior version of Star is Born is the version with Streisand and Chris Christopherson. So I started watching this movie, which features Bradley Cooper doing the weirdest voice I've ever heard, but it is clearly his attempt to do a Chris Christopherson impression.
Oh,
now,
yes.
not a good one either, but it's the intonations, it's the growl. No, Chris, it's Chris. And then we're introduced to.
He should have done it in his Rocket Raccoon voice.
That's close. We're introduced to Sam Elliott, who shockingly is playing not Bradley Cooper's grandfather, but his older brother.
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. He's only 180 years old. But at any rate, so Sam Elliott shows up.
I like him in Wyatt Earp films because he knew Wyatt Earp.
he babysat Wyatt Earp. At any rate, so Sam Elliott at a certain point in the movie admits his complete jealousy of Bradley Cooper's career, and then he says, "But the worst part is, you stole my voice." And you're like, no, he stole Chris Christopherson's voice.
Yes.
And then the movie's telling you, no, the entire movie is Bradley Cooper doing an impression of Sam Elliott. And I'm like, listen, I know what Sam Elliott sounds like. I'm listening to him right now. I also know what Chris Christopherson sounds like. That is a Chris Christopherson impression. Is that an ad-lib in the moment that Sam Elliott was like, well, I'm pretty sure it's just doing me, so I'm going to bring that up on screen, and then the movie will just have to deal with it. Because I don't buy it. It's just a messy concept for me.
It really is. And yeah, and so when I took issue with this new remake, I saw it in theaters, I just didn't get it, all my friends loved it. I'm not a big fan of movies about Hollywood. Hollywood just being like, Hollywood is great. Or, anyway.
Hollywood loves to reward Hollywood as being important.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what I want to say. I can't stand it. But anyway, so I want to revisit the older remakes. I want to watch the Judy Garland, I want to watch the Barbara Streisand. Also, the story's just bad. I would say the Judy Garland one is the best one.
Does it also feature a delightful garage ending scene for a character?
It has a very similar ending scene.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
Definitely the same ending, but not featuring a garage.
Okay. Not to give it away for the audience, but yeah.
The Barbara Streisand Chris Christopherson one had the best musical interludes for sure, because it's more rock and roll, right? Mm-hmm. But it is so bad. It is almost unwatchable.
I haven't seen that one, but I am an unashamed Barbara Streisand movie fan, not music fan. I don't like her music, but she is in a number of shockingly good dramas and comedies from the 70s and 80s.
I love Barbara Streisand.
I know you can't get enough of Yentl.
I actually
No one
haven't seen
can.
Yentl. I haven't seen Yentl. It's one of the holes in my filmography, but she's in a ton of strange movies, including an early 80s Gene Hackman vehicle, where she and Gene Hackman have this strange connection while working in a supermarket overnight. Like, it is one of those movies where you're like, this got made when they were famous? Kind of thing that would never be made now. Just as an example of like the strangest stuff. And she's in on some very good thrillers and some other work. So
Absolutely.
I like her a lot. Even right up to her recent Seth Rogen team-up movie, I still thought she was pretty good.
Oh, I haven't seen
I
that,
can't remember what
but
it's called.
I do love
It's
Seth
like-
Rogen in
It's
most
like
forms.
Mom Drive or something. They go on a long trip together. Mom Trip. That's it. But even that's pretty. She's good in it. You can see her choices are excellent.
Absolutely.
Her dramatic choices. But Star Wars Born's a rough one.
It really is a really, truly bad story, and I just do not understand how most of the human population really buys into it.
I will say for about 15 minutes in that movie, I found this cinema verite way of shooting the film, and it seemed very improvisational, and its style felt authentic. But after about 15 minutes, I couldn't take it anymore. So the entire movie is handheld photography. The camera's always in bouncing around
Yeah.
as you're trying to watch scenes. Everybody seems like they're improvising what they're saying, and everyone's miserable. And then there's sort of this, they're really talking over each other a lot in this.
Yeah.
That Robert Altman style, no one's allowed to make a statement in this movie because everyone's got to interrupt them. It's a little, it got on my nerves very quickly.
Yes.
Not a movie I loved.
Good, I'm glad, because most people, even when I left the theater, usually when I go to the movies, I go by myself. I just prefer to see movies solo. But I had some friends, some acquaintances that were in the theater, and so I saw them after the film, like we left, and I was like, what did you guys think of that? And they're like, oh my god, life-changing, amazing. I can't stop, I couldn't stop crying. And I was like, oh. I really hated it. And they just didn't understand why I hated it.
It is amazing to
Bad
go
story.
to a film and have that on any movie reaction. You love or hate something, and the group you're with has the opposite reaction. I mean, it's also just sometimes I wind up hating a movie so much that even if people don't like it, they can't hate it enough for me. like when we saw Hereditary, and I was so angry at that movie at the end, just in its complete. We don't care how this movie ends.
Honestly, that is how you come out of every movie.
Almost.
Why don't you hate this enough?
Yeah, and the reaction from you and Tess was just not angry enough for me. Really, I needed people to be with me on the hate for Hereditary, and it didn't work out for me. At any rate, do you have another love-hate indifferent movie to tell us about?
I guess the last movie that I want to talk about is a movie I love.
Okay.
And I'm very curious about your thoughts, because it's a film, I guess, that divides people, I think. But one of my favorite films of all time is Lost in Translation.
Ah, you did it. You found a movie that you love but I don't love.
Why don't you
Good
like
job.
it? I can probably imagine why.
Some movies have an air of pretentiousness.
There it
and
is.
that one got me real quick. And I will say, I've only seen that film once in, I'm going to say 2003 when it came out.
Yeah.
And I will say that on my initial viewing of the film, again, the only one I had, every time Bill Murray spoke, I was like, you're very, very charming in this. And the more the movie went on, the more I was convinced he'd written every single line he speaks aloud in the movie. I gave zero credit to the creator. It was a
Yeah, so it feels like Bill Murray is workshopping a script that was written on the back of an envelope by Sofia Coppola.
Yeah, that's it. It just feels like
Damn.
And if you go forward in her career and look at her other works, it's like proof beyond proof that she, for me, and I apologize to the listeners who love her, I think she's a talentless actor.
Whoa.
I do not care for her work at all.
This I completely disagree with.
All right, well, let's hear your take on the good parts of this, or the things that feel like something.
Stylistically, it's beautiful, and the emotion that is portrayed in that movie is like untouchable. It got to me.
Just to be clear, it is a movie that takes place in Japan.
Yes.
And you recently returned from Japan, did you not?
That's true.
Did you have any connection to that experience? The two things? Were there any locations that spoke to you, or I'm guessing that when you saw the movie, you had not yet been to Japan.
No, actually, I had been to Japan. But yeah, so because this time I went to Japan, I went to Tokyo for the very first time. So there were some locations where I was, and so were Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray. So yeah, but I did not have an existential crisis akin to the characters in the movie. No, I do not.
Alright, well, any other thoughts on why it's a good film? What it is that speaks to you in it? Do you put yourself in the position of either of the characters?
Yes, I do. Admittedly, it's a movie with very little plot, but the thing is the emotions that the characters have, I find are relatable, and it speaks to me. It speaks to me.
I think I'm not alone. A lot of people feel this way, but I'm going to say this is a huge spoiler if you haven't seen Lost in Translation. I am now going to discuss the most talked about thing in this movie.
Oh, is this the thing I rant about as well?
Yeah. At the end of the movie, we've seen these characters live through some stuff, and we have a moment. And the moment is, it's time. It's time for me to share something with you. Bill Murray needs to tell Scarlett Johansson something. Now, this moment's been coming for a while. There's a feeling to it.
Yeah, how do we end these two characters?
Yeah.
Well, how do they part ways?
And ultimately, the movie does a movie trick. The character leans in, and we never hear it. It's a whisper, and so the audience is left without the information, which is either the most magical scene in cinema history for somebody, or it feels like a cheat.
And if it is, you are reading into it,
Yeah,
and
no,
intentionally so, because this is a writer trick.
I like open-ended concepts, but it is very much a writer's trick. And we have 50 seconds left. So, any thoughts, Allison, on your take on it? Do you like that scene?
I do like that scene.
I think
Now
that's what
I
the movie
feel-
comes down to. But if it speaks to you as being honest, then that is a good movie for you.
After seeing the whole movie, it does. It's a great way to wrap
That's
it
it.
up.
That is exactly right. If it feels true and honest and real, then it is a good movie.
And yet,
for
speaking as someone who's worked as a professional screenwriter for many years, it's like a magician watching a trick, and you know how it's done, and you go, "Oh, you hack!"
Yeah, that's more my take on it. But the thing is, as we know, without joking, film is very subjective. My life experience changes how I experience something. Your life experience how you change. So you and I are both like super jaded watching that. Other people get to actually enjoy it and have a good time. This has been Cinema Smackdown for Sunday, September 1st, 2019. I've been Michael Brody. This has been Shane Simmons. We've been joined by Allison. I think we're all fired. Have a great week, everybody. Just like the It's a little faster than I meant it to be.
Amazing. Oh my goodness.
Well, that was great.
That was
It
fun.
was so much fun. I definitely enjoyed that. And you are super welcome back. Especially if we ever need to film. But no, it's just a good, easy...
We'll do our old Sofia Coppola episode.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean everything I say at the end there. If that scene works for you, that is a great movie.
It's just I don't know, it's...
And I get it. Like, I like a lot of movies that no one in their right mind likes, and I will have the same argument. That just works. There's a movie by Hal Hartley. You've never seen the Hal Hartley film.
Yeah, sure, I've seen
You
some.
haven't seen The Unbelievable Truth, have you?
No,
There's
not that
a
one.
movie, it's a very strange movie. It's very good art. Like, dude, you need to run. Just look like you need to do something.
I'm gonna leave in a bit, yeah.
Okay.
But
And there's just this moment in that movie. It's very good art. Like, so it's very, I won't say phony, but it's weird. That emotional, just the way people speak. You're like, this is strange. And these two characters are on a collision course for each other, and they just keep getting closer and closer, but it's not working, not working, not working.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where the guy trying to get with the girl walks towards her apartment, and suddenly, and he's really like, I need to have this confrontation. And then suddenly, for no reason whatsoever, the camera cuts to her living room, but really cuts to a vase.
oh shit.
And it's holding on a vase, and you're like, what am I looking at? What is this? Why are you showing me a vase? Like, this is baffling. And then she's living her life, he's downstairs, he's angry, he's walking, competition's coming, it's coming. She senses something is coming even though we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But we're still looking at the vase. And then you see him outside and he's about to ring her doorbell and he's just like, doesn't do it.